Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Gyle here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. Got a 1v1 ladder match for you guys today. Aren't you excited? And not only that, it's a pretty high level one, closing in around the 2000 mark. Before we crack on with that though, quick thank you to everyone who's been sending me replays recently. I really appreciate it. Love getting replays. As always, guys, keep sending them in. I can't promise to cast them, but I will watch each and every one. I've also had a few questions pertaining to what I regard as a castable replay. It's quite simple, really. It needs to be over 15 minutes in length. Anything less than that, it has to be really exceptional in some way, so it's very rare that I'll cast anything shorter than that. And I don't generally like it where one person or one team gets ahead right at the beginning and then just steamrollers their opponent. We like close games, we like turnarounds, want stuff where the outcome's not evident right from the outset. We like ACUs getting out on a few hundred hit points, we like tech, we like experimentals, we like huge amounts of spam, all that kind of thing, juicy stuff. And you know, it may seem like you've had a good game sometimes, you may be very excited about it, you may have played exceptionally well, but it might not necessarily be the most entertaining thing if you've just curb stomped your opponent and it hasn't been much of a game, if you know what I mean. Anyway, on to today's game. It's going to take place on Emerald Crater. If I listen very carefully, I think I can hear the sound of giant mechanical feet clomping on the ground. That means they're gating onto planet as we speak. Let's head on over there to see how they're going to get on. So Emerald Crater, got an interesting map, one of the vanilla ones obviously, and honestly I don't think I've ever casted one on this map, and it's not through any other reason, the fact that I don't think many people play it, and I still wouldn't be playing it if it wasn't for the fact that it made its way into the ladder pool during the recent round of voting. So now players are forced to pick it, and should make for some quite interesting games. It's a 20-kilometer map, all land. First glimpse, this might look like this is some kind of bay, some kind of shallow water, but that's not. This sort of mud flats, and it means it's very, very difficult indeed for you to keep an eye on what your opponent's doing. They can move absolutely anywhere. These small patches of green land are pretty shallow. You have got some kind of impassable cliff edges on the corners with just single routes into them here, here, and here. But otherwise, apart from those edges, units can basically go anywhere they want, and they're not going to be at too much blockage from the relief of the land. If they're down on the edge of the flats around these green sections, firing up onto them, land may block a few shots here and there, but generally they're going to be relatively unimpeded, so it makes for a pretty interesting style of play. Not only that, the mass points are very clumped, so you've got these strategic positions littered about the map rather than a kind of a general malaise of mass points scattered as if you'd sneezed pepper everywhere. It's slightly more strategic location based, if you know what I mean. I just realized it's actually not very symmetrical at all with the layout of the mass points, but there they are. Anyway, taking a look at the players and their locations. Up here at the top, we've got Clan Tags Rock in the blue corner going his customary Cybran. He's opened first land, second air, getting that adjacency bonus, all very important. Quite thin on the power to start with, and he's sending out moles in every direction. Doesn't want any surprises coming his way. And then down here, we've got Varro going Cybran as well, so it's a Cybran mirror matchup in the red corner. He's gone a double air opening, and I think that's a Jester on his way, so he's going engineer hunting. Looks like he's beelining up here for this top section. Unfortunately for him though, he's not going to run into an engineer, he's going to run into an ACU, so he's not going to slow up any expansion over here, and there are already defending inties that can be moved over to assist that ACU at a moment's notice. Meanwhile, a drop in order, a skyhook transport on its way, full of engineers. That's going to go for the right little island. They're not really islands, are they? Raised plateau, I guess, down here, unless it runs into an interceptor. Rock may need to drop those off, but actually no, Varro not on the ball with that one. And incidentally, of course, Varro formerly Congreve, so slight change of name there. It's making my life difficult as always. I think I've cast a game already with him being as Varro, so people starting to know him as Varro. But for those of you that missed that cast, this is the old legend Congreve, been around for donkeys, of course. And Rock getting some tracers, or a tracer and an auto gun in place. That's T1 anti-air and PD, looking to secure that. And we've already got a Mantis working away on these 3 mass points down here, taking it down at the speed at which Republicans adopt modern accepted scientific principles, and should be able to finish his way, I think, through all 3 of those. There seems to be no real reinforcements coming on the way for that, but Engineer's getting dropped off down here at the bottom right, so it's quite an aggressive play there from Rock. He's going straight down here, not prioritizing the corners that are closest to him, instead making a play for one at the bottom right hand corner, which is going to be nearer to Varro, trying to get ahead on the eco as early as possible. We've got a skyhook coming out meanwhile from Varro, and he's going to the bottom left, so it looks like he might be able to secure that. ACU from Varro, who's moved top left of his main starting location. He's getting a land factory in place, already has an auto gun and all 3 mass points secure, all looking hunky-dory, but that Mantis and Mole still alive, all 3 of those mass points down, and that uncompleted PD, which was being built by the engineer, that got wasted when it first turned up. So all in all, first 6 minutes down, soon to be 7. Looking like Rock is the slightly more aggressive player, and holding on to the air down here as well. 2 interceptors against 1, finishes that off very nicely. So could potentially be in control, but of course this is the problem. Very much closer to Varro. Reinforcements going to arrive more quickly, and Varro doesn't look like he's going to let this one go. Jester coming in, going to try and pick up that engineer before he can get any land factories down, start spewing out yet more engineers. In fact, he's going after the mass points first of all, but I do recommend you go hunting for that engineer, sir, and that's what he's going to do, straight in to kill it. That mech's not going to get finished, sitting on around 514 hit points and now falling. Rock coming in with some interceptors to finish it off, but deciding better of it and turning them around up to the middle. And yet another engineer drop coming over here, not going for that middle 3 mass points, but coming down. That's a very adventurous effort from Rock. He probably hasn't given that a scout, otherwise he wouldn't be going after that. There's no chance of this succeeding at all, but you've got to try these things. Why not? They're going to land. It's not actually, excuse me, I was expecting that to be an engineer drop. That's 3 Mantis looking for some engineer kills, so not deciding to try and make a play for it, but there's too much D on the ground. Couple of Varro's Mantis plus that auto gun in place. There was never any real chance of that succeeding either. But Varro has cleaned up the bottom right with that Jester. Just a few wall sections left with no PD inside. That's the only way you'd ever really know that Rock was there. That is now cleaned up. But looking at terms of map control for the moment, it looks like it's kind of in 60% in favor of Rock. Although Varro's moved his ACU up here and he's starting to work on a land factory, wants to secure this left starting location. 6 mass points and a hydro ready to go. It's going to help him dramatically. But in terms of eco, it does actually seem on the face of it, once the reclaim stops affecting those scores, and I do tend to get on to Zepp and ask him to change that, so it's just, it doesn't represent reclaim. It'd be much more helpful from a casting perspective. We just saw the mass coming in from mexes and mass fabricators, or any kind of mass generation from ACU or SCU, so that would be genuine kind of eco and how they're doing, sort of ignoring the reclaim. We've got our reclaim counter from Gaz UI up there, which we can refer to if we're interested. That's a little bit of a tangent that I went on there, so feel free to ignore that if you don't think it's relevant. But Rock looking quite strong, making a little push down here with some Mantis on the right-hand side of Varro's starting location. Some landing interceptors in danger of getting knocked out by Mantis. They come in, but Varro's paying attention and lifts those off. It's just a few hit points get shed off one nearby Inti. A few Mantis coming in as well from Varro up here at the top left. Going to take 1 or 2 Mantis down. Potentially could grab this engineer if he's quick, but not going to manage it. Auto gun doing its job nicely, hoovering up those Mantis before any real damage gets done. Jester in around the back of Rock space as well, grabbing a single mass point. Could come on and take out this other one. How's he doing on anti-air in the middle of the base? Not great. He sees the threat, has started work on one of them, but decides instead to move on and do something else. He's going to start building another T1 air factory, but he's got a T2 in play, and we're starting to see Renegades. So Rock really making a go of it in the air on this one, and not currently even having expanded to that top left. We've got one of Varro's Jesters going up there, searching for some potential engineers. Not going to get any joy out of it, though. Rock needs to think about making a play for that ASAP. In terms of eco, though, he seems to be pulling ahead. 50 odd mass. There was some reclaim going on there, but it's very low order reclaim. So he's definitely in the 50s. Varro, however, in the 40s. So for the moment, Rock ahead on eco. Renegades coming in, hoovering up that point defense, grabbing an engineer as well. Not sticking around to finish off those mass points, so he's going to let these local Mantis do the job. He's going to go on and see if he can cause more critical damage more quickly. But there's a whole bunch of inties coming in, trying to chase down those renegades. Are going to get a pass in. One renegade goes down, second one goes down, third one goes down. And now we've got a big old air fight brewing, which I think Rock has the better of in terms of numeracy. Seems to be more blue in the air there than red. That is a convincing win, handing air control firmly over to Rock for the time being. So he should be producing as many renegades as he can for the moment, I would expect. And there they go. Seems to be the tactic that he's going for. A pass over the main base while there's still no real anti-air. It's a good decision. He's grabbing a few jesters. He's hoovering up a few of those inties as they come off the pad, keeping Varro's air force to a minimum. But Varro's switching up now to Sky Slammers. Put some fire on these interceptors, wants to get them out of his airspace ASAP. Mantis pushing in from Rock on the right hand side now to this upper right section of Varro's side of the map. One mass point down. Incapacitated a land factory which was under construction. Grab both of those other two mexes, so that's a nice little victory there for Rock, who still hasn't made a play for this top left hand side. Kind of interesting. I know I do appreciate the fact that he's been seriously busy, but certainly should make a play with it. But he's got a Jester on the case down here, harassing this bottom section of the map. Wants to grab this Hydro, grab these two engineers, and start to work on those mexes. And he could definitely deny that from Varro. If he's quick, he's got enough air force in the area to keep that Jester covered. Engineer down. A few inties coming in from Varro to counter. Going to go straight after that Jester, I'd imagine. Splits off. Primarying any of them at the moment, actually going after instead the interceptors. He's got a Sky Slammer that's rolled off the conveyor belt from that factory, and another one. But two more Jesters showing up from Rock. Makes a trio of death. And he was switching up onto that Sky Slammer, but he's going to stay on that factory. I think he's going to be able to do it. And of course, just the odd Sky Slammer, not amazing at taking out gunships. But once they get into larger numbers, their tracking is excellent. Those projectiles will follow their target. Kind of a steady stream of Jesters actually going into the bottom right, and they could do with some coverage. They're all alone now. They do finish off that Hydro, but I think they're going to be lost. They're just walking into air coverage, whereas all of Rock's air is over in the middle. Large fight brewing. Air versus ground, air versus Sky Slammer, of which there aren't many Sky Slammers, and there are quite a few Renegades. These gunships just rolling through that spam without any real problems. Meanwhile, we've got a push up here at the top left from Varro, who's amassed quite a pretty heavy bunch of T1 up here. And there's nothing to stop him rolling on into that main base. He's got a lot of Sky Slammers in there to counter these Renegades. And usually, like I say, Renegades would counter, or not counter, sorry, they would tank those Sky Slammers very well, but he's got so many of them. Varro, well aware of his deficiency in the air, has switched up nicely to deal with them. But meanwhile, Rock is tearing shit up in Varro's base, just walking through these structures, focusing primarily on the power, and now switching out to these large groups of T1 static anti-air, and their building engineers have been going down on the right-hand side. Varro's main base is an absolute mess. He's trying to divert lots of his forces over here, of which many have accompanying Sky Slammers, but now it's Rock's turn to get his big blue metal bottom out of dodge. He's going for a run. Doesn't want to be anywhere near this as it's all kicking off in his base. Trying to spam up auto guns as best he can, but it's taken some minor damage. Of course, lots of mass littered in his base. Doesn't seem to be quite as much damage as Rock has inflicted on Varro's. Varro's base seems very much more harshly dealt with. You can see the difference that that's made in eco. Varro down to just 350 power versus Rock's 1.7k, and he's bottlenecking power really hard, which will in turn be affecting his mass, of course. Minus 300 odd net. Needs to get a handle on that as soon as humanly possible. Now Rock moving in with a small ground attack of his own. I don't think he's going to get any more real damage done. Of course, important always to keep your opponent on their toes, so in that sense definitely worthwhile. Still, Rock hasn't made a play for this top left hand corner. It's unusual to see so many mass points being uncontested at minute 21 on a game like this, but it just shows you how much action there has been. It's been non-stop for these two players, and now Varro is feigning right with this group of T1, going to make a play for this far right section, and I think he's going to get it. There's just one. No, there isn't, in fact. Sorry, there's two tracers, two T1 anti-airs, no PD whatsoever in play. A Renegade turns up to try and thin out these numbers, and another one comes to join it, but it's not going to be too long for all these Sky Slammers get into range, and there's just far too many of them, I think, for Rock to be able to deal with. And Rock needs to get his numbers up on the ground. He's focused very heavily on the air, but he's lacking perhaps in factories. Let's just take a look at what he's got on the ground in terms of factories. So in terms of air factories, we're looking at 3 T1 and a T2. In terms of ground factories, what have we got? Well, seems to be 4 plus 4 inactive, so 8 total. How does that stack up against Varro? He's got 6 and 7, so 13. So considerably more factories on the go, and it's evident just by the amount of spam on the map. I think Varro is turning this around slightly. Rock still holds 2 main points. He's lost these intermediary places. He's got this one down here in between Varro's starting location and the right island. But still hasn't made a play for the top left. And, unless Rock gets expanding and increasing his numbers soon, this could be a problem. He's making a push over on the left-hand side, though. He's got a pretty hefty group of Mantis, swarm of replicators. They look like moving in on the left-hand side. He split it up. He's got a few coming in to try and divert the forces from Varro, but he's not. Varro's not been fooled. He's continuing on his line, trying to head off the main body. That's what he's managed to do. I don't think Rock's going to get any traction there with those units whatsoever. And this group of units finally looking like it might be about to be finished off, so to speak. It's the last of the Sky Slammers, so those Renegades can finish off those Medusas. One Medusa is going to make it out alive. Luckiest Medusa ever. Now, large bodies of interceptors land in the middle for Rock, taking some Mantis fire unnecessarily, but take off and promptly get harassed by the Sky Slammers. So Rock still dominant more or less in the air. I'm not sure it's enough. He needs to increase his land production. Another large engagement building in the middle. Varro moving up through the center, deciding he can't deal with both the Renegades and this swarm of T1 that's moved in above him from Rock, so he's going to pull back. Probably a good idea to consolidate with this force on the left-hand side. Stops off. That's all going to get annihilated. But Renegade's making a play on the left-hand side once again, popping as many Sky Slammers as he can. It's definitely the focus, needing to thin out this anti-air. That's the right decision. Trouble is, there's just so much of it, and it keeps on coming. I think he's going to managed to deal with it perhaps in this front group. He's definitely nullified that threat, but another group of Mantis coming in now from Varro, heading into the main base. We've got some Cerberus turrets now in there for Rock, so ever so slightly more turtley in the middle. Generally not a brilliant sign. But still feels like there's just more red on the map in terms of ground units. Gunships have been working very well for Rock, and he's finally made the move up here to the top left. Grabbed all three of those mass points. He's thrown down a couple of factories and a radar. That's looking like a much more solid position than it has throughout this game. Mantis pushing south now from Rock, heading towards Varro's main base. Nothing on the ground in terms of PD. It's raw Mantis and the odd Medusa down there. And of course the Sky Slammers that can toggle land fire. And the PDs go down, they get placed, and they're getting spammed up incredibly quickly. I think they're going to be online before the damage goes down. But the Renegades come in and hoover up all the engineers. Very nice attack there from Rock. Pulls out before the interceptors turn up, leaves his ground forces on the ground to try and finish off the factories, although reinforcements heading in from Varro have evened it out. I think he's going to be able to finish it off. His best bet's probably going to be to finish off the mexes. He's taken 2 down, a third one still alive here at the bottom left. Rock trying to consolidate with more forces that have been skirting around the starting location from Varro, who has a lot of forces up here still looking for an entry point into Rock's main base, who can honestly do with getting some Cerberus turrets around the fringes. Rock wondering if he's got T2 on his commanders, looking like he's healthier on hit points than he would be on standard. Yes, he does have the engineering suite. That's where he's getting his build power and tech from in terms of those Cerberus turrets. And the Renegades have been recalled. Of course, it's such an inefficient way to be going after all of these Sky Slammers, and it's literally about 70 or 80% it seems to be of these attacking bodies are mostly Sky Slammers now. It's got a decent amount of Renegades in there to tank it, but a little engagement now brewing up here at the top left. Varro wisely deciding that Rock's had enough time to expand up here. He's going to walk in. However, there is a auto gun in place and a bunch of defending Mantis plus a Corsair coming in as well to assist matters. Sky Slammers fire off a volley. Finally take down that Corsair as we pass the 32-minute mark in this game. It's still anybody's to go for. Quite a large push down here from Rock, who seems to be a little bit better on numbers than he was earlier on in the game. A little standoff happening here between Rock and Varro's forces. Rock doesn't want to go in and engage against those auto guns again, plus all of that Mantis, which actually outnumber him, I'm pretty certain. So now it's looking like a much more evenly spread map, more or less 50-50, although these 3 mexes have been taken out by that pass from Varro. And Varro still has control of these 3 up here. He's turtling slightly, putting down some anti-air turrets. Wants to ward off those Renegades as much as possible. It really has been Rock's key strategy in this, and on paper it's a sound strategy. I mean, it's a 20k map, there's a lot of ground to cover, but look at the air fight that's brewing down here, and once again I think Rock has the advantage in terms of numeracy. Many more blue inties on the map than red. Got a lot of anti-air coming off the edge of Varro's base there. It's not evenly distributed. It's emergency click and drag build queue, but definitely an advantage. And lots of units now pushing south from Rock. Lots of Mantis and low tech in this game on the ground. Haven't seen much tech at all. Certainly no experimentals. 34 minutes gone. You might have expected to see someone spamming up a Monkey Lord, getting some loyalists or bricks in the mix. I'm sure they will come, but for the moment we haven't been able to see it, and that's just a testament to how tight this game is. It's all about numbers on the ground in this match at the moment. Taking a look at the unit count, 663 units on the map at the moment for Varro, 713 for Rock, so eating up the best part of 3/4 of the maximum unit cap. That just shows you how tight it is. They can't afford to expend resources in anything at the moment which isn't pumping out more units to throw at their opponents. It's not always like this, Subcom, but certain matches do go this way, and it's very tight. And of course, it's X amount more difficult on Emerald Crater because of the way it's all shaped. The free range of movement that land units have got go anywhere, so you have to have a lot of them. And now large groups of Mantis coming in, some exposed power generators under threat, and a energy storage as well that goes down. So is that Varro's only one? Yes, it is. So no more overcharge for Varro's ACU. I don't even know where it is at the moment. It's up here. He did make that move earlier on. He's actually turtling up a little bit. He's got some T2 shields, but Varro's main base is under pretty heavy threat. There's also a nice attack going on though from Varro up here. He's making a push up to the top right. Let's go to split screen so we can keep an eye on these two theaters as they progress. A lot of auto guns though have been spammed up, which are thinning out the Mantis as they come into contact. But Renegade's working nicely up here for Tag Rock, repelling that little invasion. Yet more coming in to join the fight, but that's a big old group of unit. And speak of the devil, we have T3 units on the field. Varro bypassing T2 altogether. Not often you see a game go without any rocket bots, hoplites on the field whatsoever, and go straight to loyalists. But that's what we're seeing in this one, and that group of Mantis from Rock having to pull back from Varro's base. He's done a pretty good job. He's going to go after these rear mexes now, but now we're seeing the Renegades engage that large group of span. Still so many Sky Slammers on the field. It's absolutely unreal, and Rock has managed to pull in a large group of reinforcers from this left-hand base. A large air engagement over the top of Varro's main base. It has his T3 land factory, it has his commander, it has a lot of power that could be got at under those shields. That would be a nice coup for Rock if he could manage it. And as far as say, Varro seems to be further ahead in terms of development. Not only is Rock not at T3 land, he also hasn't got nearly as much access to power in that main base. Varro about 500-600 or so power ahead of him. Rock obviously more spread out with his P-gens. Not quite such a consolidation of T2, but now we've got a large engagement brewing between the Renegades and all of this spam on the ground. Still so many Sky Slammers, and Renegades starting to suffer. How many Sky Slammers are in that mix? Looks to be 59, and that will make a mess of your gunships, make no mistake about it. Whatever tech they are, it's going to be a tough thing to deal with. Large group of T1 bombers heading in perfect synchronous over the top of what their target actually is. I think for the moment that I can see, free range of units moving between the two bases for Varro could do with taking out this group of Mantis that seems to just be rallied there. Looks like that seems to be the plan, but Varro now just strolling across the middle, tearing up what Rock's got on that central plateau. Probably risk going back to full screen now. Rock making a little bit of a push on the left-hand side. Needs to keep his Renegades close, though, if he's going to deal with these Loyalists, if he wants to get anything done on the ground. And also, this T1 is not going to have the punching power to make it in here. There's far too much turtle going on. There's Cerberus turrets under shield coverage. We've got auto guns in place. Large group of bombers now on the move. What is their target is the question. They are coming down here perhaps to harass Varro's original starting location. Varro looking quite strong and weak simultaneously, if that makes any sense. He's lost his main base, but he's got a lot of units on the ground. And there are no fronts left in this game. There's just units everywhere. We've got a patch of units for Rock down here, Varro seems to control a kind of a sausage-shaped area of the map in the middle here, and then one little patch down here and here. But he's making a push up the right-hand side, and finally we see a T2 unit on the maps. Couple of bangers in that mix. That will go even further to nullifying the advantage that Rock has had in the air. That definitely needs to be the targets that he goes for, Rock, with those gunships, if he's going to try and engage this group of units. Is it the same group of units we saw before? 57 Sky Slammers, I think it is. It has made a transition or a pass through the middle and is now moving up towards this corner base, which Rock has recently reacquired. Doesn't look like he's going herring in. He knows there are auto guns on the ground. Let's not take unnecessary casualties. He's going to engage with his Medusas first. Very sensible work indeed. But in come the gunships from Rock, going straight after those Medusas. Going to make a pass. Needs to be careful. There's so much fire coming off the ground there from those Sky Slammers. And look at those Renegades just plummet out of the sky. Those bangers really making a difference on that AoE, and that air advantage is gone, my friend. You need to get stuff on the ground. We've got a lot of Dragonflies, the T2 transports for Rock. I don't know what he's planning. Perhaps some kind of epic drop into the main base or something, going after Varro's comm, but I'm not seeing any significant tech, and this game is looking like it's falling apart in front of my eyes for Rock. We've got an engagement that's going badly over here. This base is now lost, and look at this side island. It's just been swamped by forces from Varro. Too many Sky Slammers to deal with, and that will be the end of all of these factories. Varro has now got control of the three main starting locations. He's rinsed the middle clean and dry from all of Rock's presence, and now Rock is looking incredibly isolated in this upper island. He's got just these two rear ones, and that might not be the case for much longer either, as this group of units from Varro move right to intercept it. We are seeing some bricks on the field now, though, for Rock. He has made the transition to T3, but he looks so woefully ill-equipped to get mass production going. He's down to 62 mass per tick, as opposed to the 119 coming into Varro, so he has half the relative eco in terms of mass of his opponent. I really don't see any way back from this now. It would be a miracle. He needs to try and go for some kind of snipe. I think he overproduced the Dragonflies potentially. He's going to be airlifting these bricks around the map. That is the idea, but he needs more land unit presence. He just hasn't got enough to deal with them. He's got plenty of interceptors in the sky, but now nothing really to shoot ground with. Renegades have all been popped. The bangers that are emerging on the field have nullified that advantage, accompanied with the Sky Slammers, of course. Look at that, on toggle fire. They're so multifunctional, it's unreal. Yes, they don't hit quite as well as other land units, so it can be microed out the way, but if you've got critical mass of them, what does it matter? Sheer amount of AoE and damage will overwhelm, and now these bricks getting closed in on from Varro's forces. Loyalists not going to cut the mustard against three of them, but the amount of T1 that's chasing them down should eventually get the better of them, and Rock decides to get them on the move, wisely so. Meanwhile, at the top right hand side, one hero brick in amongst them all. In fact, sorry, two of them should manage to, three of them in fact, they're getting airlifted in all the time. They should have managed to hold on to this top right, but the impending doom is not from throttling at the edges. Varro is now surrounding Rock's base. He's got units on essentially 4 sides or 5 sides, if that's even possible. And what's Rock got on the ground in terms of turtle? He's got a line of Cerberus turrets in the middle. He's got a couple dotted around here and there. He's also producing some bricks. He's got very basic, smallest unupgraded shield coverage in the Cybran arsenal at the moment, so it's not looking great. And even if he does manage to deal with the units in the immediate vicinity, he's going to really struggle to get out of the position he's in. Bangers and Sky Slammers just hammering these interceptors out of the sky as they start to make their way into the main base. Take a look at this battle as it unfolds. ACU in the middle there for Rock. Engaging bricks coming in from all directions. A large pass of interceptors coming over from Varro. Air advantage now firmly in his camp, but I really don't think it's going to matter. Land was all he needed. Bricks closing in on the commander. And surely that's going to be game. Far too many units on the ground coming in from all directions. And Rock throws out the nicely played. Ever the gentleman is our friend Rock as he moves his ACU through the camp. T2 PGen there taking some fire. Doesn't want to be standing up against that when it goes. Shields depleted all over. Cerberus turrets working overtime, and Rock leaves the game. Says he underestimated that left side. Yes, you did, my friend, but very nicely played from Varro / Congreve. Convincing win all the way. Very, very entertaining to watch. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. That was supremely fun to cast. It's the most fun I've had in ages. Anyway, as always, guys, keep those replays coming in, and I will see you soon. In the meantime, stay well and stay safe. This is Gyle signing out.